Hey, welcome to Clarksville Vibe the show where we tell the stories about people here in Clarksville, Tennessee who make this place the greatest place to live in America. I'm your host, Kevin Kennedy Jr. I'm a Clarksville native, somebody that's really passionate about all the creative, positive, exciting things that we have going on in Clarksville right now. And I get this great privilege of bringing people to you episode after episode who are doing amazing things all across our community. And today's guest is one of those. I'm really excited to hear her story. She's bringing us a perspective from the county side of Parks and Rec and the events that they plan and how they bless our community in so many ways. She's also a Clarksville native, which is really cool. We're going to dig into her story in just a bit. But before we do that, if you would hit like, subscribe, follow, whatever the platform that you're using right now tells you to do to get this great content. I think when you make it to the end of this episode, you'll realize that you'll want to hear more stories like our guest today. Our guest is Elizabeth Quinton. She is the events coordinator, supervisor, something along those lines for the county, but she is the one behind the scenes making all of our amazing events at Downtown Commons, at Rotary Park, at all these great county facilities. She's making those things happen. My family enjoys them tremendously. It's some of our most memorable moments as a family, enjoying our downtown together. And I'm excited to hear from her how things go, both visionary and planning things that are yet to come, and then some of those cool stories that we don't ever get to hear about as just attendees of maybe what happened behind the scenes. So look forward to today's episode. Elizabeth, thanks so much.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, it's real fun. I know we had chatted about this several times. Let's make this happen, and finally did. So preview, if you're, obviously we're just starting this off. We're going to hear a little bit about Elizabeth's story, just growing up in Clarksville and maybe why she's passionate about what she does. But towards the end, we got some cool things that is coming up for the county. So make it to the end so you can hear the announcements on these things. You're always such a real pleasure to be around at events. What I love is event planners, it is in their DNA to like pull these things off. I get extremely stressed. And yet when I see you at a concert, it's like smiles. And I feel like you've got the energy that's just like, look at this amazing thing that we're bringing to our community. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about how did you get into an event planning? Like what was your journey to get there? And what's your most favorite part about it, doing it in your hometown?
Yes, I am very passionate about how I got here. It was kind of a lot of trials for me to get here, to be honest. I started in insurance sales right out of college. I was like, this is so great, until I was doing 100 cold calls a day. And I was like, this is another side of insurance. I had no idea.
Yeah, right.
And so one of our family friends got me started at Vanderbilt doing parent family weekend.
Okay.
And so it happens like 6 weeks after you drop the kids off at college, and you get to invite all the families back. And that's kind of where the event planning, I was like,
fun.
This is fun. Yeah. Like getting to do 13-hour days for 3 days, so 3 days straight.
Yeah.
That was so much fun, but it was a temp job. And so I was like, crap, how do I get back into events?
Yeah.
I went back to Verizon, did some sales for a little bit until I could get back into higher ed and do events. And so started as an admin assistant, worked my way to events, and then COVID hit. And everyone's favorite year of 2020. And then that's when the county opened the Downtown Commons event job. And so I've been with events ever since.
Oh, fun.
Yes.
So what is it like making events in a town that you grew up in?
It is truly full circle. It is so full circle to see you and to see all of my high school classmates. And it's full circle to see all the people that supported you as you were growing up and seeing them at your event. It's like, wow, like I am truly making a difference. And Downtown Commons used to just be a bank and a parking lot downtown.
Right.
And so when the Downtown Commons job opened, I was like, where is Downtown Commons? I've been in college for 4 years and in Nashville for 2. And I was like, what even is Downtown Commons? Wow. And so coming back into my hometown, I feel like I'm giving back to my community in a sense, because I get to do all this fun stuff for free for the residents of Montgomery County.
Yeah, I love that you said, that you're making a difference, because I think you are. When you see these videos from, let's say, Visit Clarksville, or let's say a random internet social media influencer who does tour blogs, no one comes through Clarksville and does a video about Clarksville without showing something of Downtown Commons. So you're really on like the pioneering edge of what is exciting and new. I remember my family was out of town. This was maybe last summer. I was going downtown. I picked something up to eat somewhere, came out, concert was happening. at Downtown Commons, one of the Downtown at Sundown concerts. And I was standing there on the steps of the mailroom, and it was just like, wow, this is really, really cool. Because from that perspective, you can see how many people are there.
Yes.
Several hundred people. The music was great. It was a real high energy band. And I was just really grateful that we've kind of taken that step to provide really high quality entertainment and fun and add value for families. And you're the one who's making that difference.
To be honest,
so.
That's my favorite place to stand at during events.
Yeah.
You'll see me. That's like my favorite place to come and take a picture, because when you step away, it's like, wow, like there truly is a lot of people here, and people are actually really excited to be here. So I always snip some pictures just for my own blog, just to see how exciting it is and how full it is.
Yeah, it is. It's really fun. So tell us a little bit about, you mentioned your family, you know, it's kind of, you grew up here, you graduated high school from here. So tell us a little bit about kind of your journey, you know, in school, kind of growing up here. Where'd you go to school, and your parents, things like that?
Go Hawks. I went to Rossview High
Come
School.
on.
Yeah. And so actually I was zoned for like a lot of different schools growing up, and I lived in the same house. And so I really feel like that helped me get to know so many people.
Okay. So competition wise.
Yeah.
How many schools did you go to from K to 12?
So I started at St. B Elementary.
Okay.
And then I switched over to Glenellen, and then I switched over to Burt, and then I did Rossview Middle and High.
Oh, so I've only got you beat by 2 schools. Wow. So I did 3 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, 2 high schools.
Did you live in the same house growing up?
Same house.
Isn't that
the
crazy?
entire time. Also crazy is, apparently if my mailbox was on the side of the street of my house instead of on the other side of the street, I would have gone to a different middle school and high school.
It was like that for me. It was one half of our neighborhood, I think, went to one school, and the other half. And I was like, it's literally a neighborhood. Yeah. Like, how did we get so rezoned? But it was crazy growing up. I was like, how are we going to all these different schools?
lots of growth. And I think, you know, I graduated in 2003. So really in public school, most of the 90s and then early 2000s. And I would assume there are lots of kids, especially, let's say maybe on our north side of town, like the tiny town area.
Yes.
If they've been in public school 7 or 8 years, they're probably all over the place.
Everywhere.
Yes. Yeah.
So I feel like that really helped me get to know a lot of different people. I felt like, I was like, oh yeah, I know people at Northeast, and I know people at Northwest.
Right.
And people were like, how? And we just got rezoned all the time. All of us, all of us kids did. So my family has been such a big part of me coming back to Clarksville. Yeah. The amount of money I was paying in rent in Nashville, my parents were like, hello, Elizabeth, like you can have a whole house for that amount of rent that you're paying in Nashville. Yeah. So
I'm sure they are thrilled to see you back in town and doing cool things.
Yeah. I never said I would live close to my parents in about like 12 minutes on ways. So
that's how it goes.
Still pretty close.
Sure. I think I was almost done with residency before I kind of came to that realization, like, you know, Clarksville's not so bad.
It really isn't. I convinced my husband of West Tennessee to move to Clarksville, and he's like, I still feel like it's small town vibes in Clarksville, and we're like the 5th largest city in Tennessee.
Yeah, about to be number 4.
I heard that we're going to bypass Chattanooga.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. So when you came back to town, your job was with the county right away.
Yes.
And so you jumped into Downtown Commons, event planning. That, from my understanding, has actually, that your role has grown to do kind of more events for the whole county and not just for Downtown Commons. Is that correct?
That is totally correct. I started with just Downtown Commons under Mayor Durrett. Yeah. It wasn't classified as a park. It was just a civic space. And so I didn't really have a department. I mean, I worked underneath the mayor's office, but it wasn't. The Lone Ranger. Yes, I would be like, who's going to trim my bushes? Well, these people will do it. And they're like, who's going to take my trash away? Oh, these, like, it wasn't, it wasn't so streamlined. Yes. And so when Mayor Durrett was leaving office, he was like, I've got to find you a home. Yeah. And so I moved to Parks and Recreation immediately, and probably, I think January of 2022 is when I switched directly over, and it's been the best thing. So tell us a little bit about leadership in Parks and Rec. We had an episode with City Parks and Rec several months ago, like pre-July 4th of this year, because we were previewing the fireworks show. We got to hear a little bit about how they're structured, but tell us what it's like on the county side in terms of current leadership in Parks and Rec, and who are some of the players that you're working with on a daily basis. I feel like a lot of people don't know this. So we have Sally, Reed. I'm sorry, I was about to say Burchett. She just got married a couple weeks ago.
For all Sally, the OGs, just call her the maiden name.
She's a Burchett.
That's right.
I just want to name drop that now.
Go ahead and drop your maiden name while we're at it, so everyone really knows who you are.
I'm Elizabeth Belvin. So you probably know my parents, Robert and Mary Beth Belvin. Rob. Yes.
Rob Belvin.
And so we have Sally and then Kyle Susik, which is the assistant director. But a lot of people don't know we have 6 or 7 supervisors. So we have a landscaping supervisor that oversees all 300 plus acres that we own. Mm-hmm. We have an athletic supervisor that oversees all of our ball fields. We have a park services supervisor that cleans all of our parks. We have a maintenance supervisor, a programming supervisor, admin. So there's a lot that goes into Parks and Rec that I feel like a lot of people don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, even when you were saying, hey, I need to find someone who's going to trim our shrubs out here at Downtown Commons and pick up our trash. Like, to me, I'm thinking, wow, that actually is, kind of key operational logistics that have to be in place. And we look at it as like, oh, let's just throw a big party.
Exactly.
But on the back end, it's navigating a lot of things.
Totally not. Yes. Yeah. People are always like, just throw another movie night. Yeah. And I'm like, I would love to, but there is licensing that goes into movies that I didn't know about. There is risk management. There is security. There is so much more that goes into it. And I'm like, I would love to throw together a movie, but sadly, it takes a lot of planning.
Well, and one thing that I've noticed that's different at some events, and maybe it's some that you put on, and maybe some that the community uses for it, but like even porta potties out there it's a deal, because there's a couple public restrooms, but for a really big event, those get overused pretty fast.
Yeah, we honestly didn't realize. When they built Downtown Commons, they're like, oh, yeah, 2 bathrooms. That's totally fine. And you would think that. But now our events have grown to the extent of 2,500 people can be at an event. And so 2 bathrooms just won't suffice. Yeah. So we try to do 3 additionals, but you just never know.
Yeah. Well, I'm was curious about leadership, because I know that, I happen to be friends with Kyle Susik. I think his story is really, really fun.
So awesome.
Yeah. Essentially he's one of our local residents now. He's been here for a few years, but came from California.
He's one of those guys that came from California, as people like to say.
But he had such an extensive history in Parks and Rec in California. He eventually, moved here first as a consultant. He was consulting to all these Parks and Rec departments all across the country, working virtually.
Yes.
And then somehow we snagged him and put him on our team.
We bought his product. He was selling software that we use for all of our ball fields and park facility rentals. Yeah. And so he actually was selling us that, and he was like, I can't tell them I'm applying for the job. And so we didn't know until they're like, announcement, our new assistant director. I'm like, I've been working with you for 5 months now, and you didn't even say that you were applying for he kept it so low-key. You would never know.
No good old boy greased the wheel.
No good old boy at all.
Earned the job the hard way.
Yes, he is a wealth of information. Coming from California,
really
he ran so many tournaments, so many athletic leagues. He worked over 100 nights a year. And so getting a lot of insight from him on the facility side is so helpful.
Wes Golden, if you're listening, just create the empty blank checkbook for Kyle to create us some basketball leagues, and have our kids get some college scholarships one day.
Mayor Golden. If you want to create us another position for
if you're listening.
I've actually talked to him. I feel like that is a need here in the county. I've talked to him and Sally both. I think we need sports leagues and
sponsored through the county.
Family kickball nights and wiffle ball and just little things like that, just for the community. I do think that is something that. So
let me ask you this: when you're, let's say, vision planning, dream casting, Parks and Rec, hey, we don't. Let's say unlimited budget. Let's just throw ideas up on the wall. What does that process look like for you guys?
Oh my goodness, years and years.
Really?
It takes, when they say in government it takes forever, it really does. Okay. There's a lot of things that you have to think through on locations and accessibility and safety and how long will it take EMS to get out there? How long will it, there's a lot of things that go into play.
That's an interesting
especially because we're in a county and so we have volunteer fire. And so you think about a lot of things as, I would love to do this, but there's so much more that goes into it. But if I had an unlimited budget, there'd be so many things,
Yeah, that's really cool. I never thought
Doesn't
about
government
the EMS
have unlimited budgets?
Well, I pay my taxes. I thought we did, but I don't guess we do on the other end of it. That's fun. But yeah, as a resident, I do feel like I I would love to see some more opportunities for our kids and youth to have more organized sports, that maybe we didn't have to rely on a private entity like a church or someone to, kind of have a basketball league for our kids to play in. But I understand the dynamics of facilities and safety and all of these things that go in place in order to be able to do those.
I agree. I was talking to my director because take my daughter, she's a year and a half, into gymnastics or dance, $65 a month at a lot of places, which I understand. But also I was like, for people like, if they can't afford that, if we had just like a random little dance pop up or just something, so that way we're keeping the community engaged and funding isn't always have to be at the top of the subject line. I would love to do something like that.
Yeah, that's a great example of a real community minded approach, because $65 a month is an investment, but we realize there's a real cost for a gymnastics center to be able to have a parking lot that's big enough for people to drive into and have a facility, run the air conditioning, pay the teachers, all of those things. That's what it costs. But one of the government's roles is to provide services for people who may not be able to access those services, right? And so that's a great idea. So let's talk a little bit more kind of about your events, and maybe let's talk about some that you've had and some stories along the way. What do you feel like has been the biggest event that you've done?
Wow. There's a lot.
You said maybe up to 2,500 people. That seems like a really big
Haven
number.
Madison, she was recently on American Idol. She is so awesome. Her family is so awesome. Yeah. We hosted a welcome back home.
There.
Congratulations. Wow. That was intense. We originally had it planned for a Sunday. Weather got us. We moved it to a Monday. And we were like, okay, well, maybe the crowds will go down a little bit because it's a Monday.
I forget. No.
Bro,
we showed up. My two girls.
So bad.
We heard there's a meet and greet. Let's go get in line 30 minutes early. We
down
were
at
an hour late. Yes, it was awful. We walked to the back, and a friend of mine from college was back there. He's like, I'm really sorry, but I was told to stand back here and tell you that the line is over. And I was like, are you serious?
Kidding me?
Look at my daughters. He's like, I'm really sorry. I've already told like 30 people no.
I know.
And the turnout was so good, though.
It was so great, but it was so
packed.
Yes.
And you had no idea that that's what
No
was
idea.
Coming. Wow.
I knew that we would have about 1,000, 1,500. We had to call in patrol to come in. We had to call CPD. We needed all the help we could get.
So what does that look like? Are you making that decision on site?
I am. Okay. I am really good at gauging when I feel like I can't control it.
Okay.
And when I feel like I can't control an event, I kind of go into not panic mode, but I'm just like, we need patrol. We need officers. We need help. But also the officers that the sheriff's office gives me are so great. And they also tell me I want them to be 100% honest when they feel like they need help. Yeah. And so we'll just call it in. It was no big deal. Yeah. But there are situations like that where you're like, oh my goodness. The dueling pianos I did. I was like, dueling pianos. Like, this will be fun. Holy moly, we had so many people there. F&M Bank Arena also had an event, and so F&M Bank Arena let out right before my event even ended.
So that was their first concert.
That was their first
at the arena.
The first Disney night.
Oh,
and so
that's what it was.
We had 2,500 people exiting from F&M Bank Arena. We had 2,700 people at Downtown Commons.
Oh my gosh.
So you have like 5,000 people in one block, and you're like, oh my goodness, how do I safely get these people out?
And I think someone might leave there maybe a little frustrated, thinking, why didn't they plan this better? But the reality is you don't plan events at the F&M Arena.
A lot of people do think that. It is a county-owned venue.
Yes.
I don't plan them.
Yeah. So it's not Parks and Rec who plans the events, right?
No.
Which we probably don't want that to be Parks and Rec, in all honesty. Like, if the county owns it and needs to pay for itself, like, whoever is planning it, like, their job is to pay for it,
exactly.
Right? And so, the staff that you would then have to plan all these events is crazy and unbelievable. But on a night like that, where something happens to fall on the same night, downtown is
You're
hopping.
Like, holy moly, where did everybody come from?
Yes.
Hi, Clarksville and surrounding areas. I
Sure.
mean, we're getting a lot of people from Kentucky coming into F&M Bank Arena. So it's all great. But
are you, when you're deciding, like, let's say, hey, there's a band that we really, really want to have, and we're going to do this event. It's going to be a standalone event. We're going to bring them down, and we're going to have music at Downtown Commons. Are you looking at the calendar for best dates, or are you saying, hey, the band is the priority? When can you come? And we're just going to have to make it work.
So Downtown Commons concerts are always the first and third generally like May to October.
Okay.
And so I have to work around the band routing. And so a lot of people don't know I work with agents to book our concert series. And so what my agent's job is, oh, hey, I have a band that's playing in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. How can we get them to Clarksville?
Oh, yeah.
And so, or vice versa. Like if he routes a band to Clarksville, he's trying to route them to Evansville or somewhere else that's close. So that way they're routed for the weekend around in the same area. So we usually plan. Yeah. So concert series, they start in May, but I start planning them in November, October of the previous year to stay on top of it.
I don't know if I should say this or not, so just tell me no, we can't tell that story if so. But I heard that there was a band that was coming to town and last minute decided that they weren't going to bring their own instruments, that they needed you as the person here in Clarksville to provide the instruments. Let's leave them nameless. But hey, here's all of the things that we need. And if the show is, let's say tomorrow, is it a day in advance? Of like, hey, we were going to bring all our stuff, but now we're changing this. And this is what we need if you still want us to come.
It happens.
I am dying.
I
was told that story. I thought, as a private person in business,
way.
I'm like, the audacity to change the last minute.
Everybody would be shocked. So we've had bands that are like, hey, I'm just not going to bring my guitar. That's totally fine, right? Or, hey, I'm actually going to fly in, so I can't bring anything. I need you to supply. And everything. So that just puts our production agency in such a tizzy. They don't really love that. No one loves that. It's going back to the writer. Having good agents that can just say, hey, no, the writer that you provided us said that this is not going to be in there. Wow. And so a lot of times they have to pay the cost of renting the piece of equipment that we have to go get from Nashville. People, the writers, you hear the jokes about, a band requested all green M&Ms in their rider. That stuff is true. Yeah. Like bands actually are extremely picky when they come to their writers.
Do you ever look at one, you're like, I was really hoping to work with this band, but this is just unreasonable. Like, we're just not going to do this.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Bummer.
It's really, I literally had a band request Huggies wet wipes. Oh. And I was like, Huggies.
Yeah.
Oh, what? This is.
Pampers aren't enough.
Pampers.
7th generation Target.
It is wild. It is wild. And so we've had to mark out writers. I redline them. I just cross them out. Yeah. And a lot of the bands just want to see how much they can get away with.
Fair enough.
And so a lot of bands were like, oh yeah, that's totally fun. I just wanted to see if you guys would actually provide it. It's a negotiation. Literally. Oh. And so I'm like,
that's frustrating.
No, I'm not providing this. And I'm not providing you with breath mints and AAA batteries, and you would be shocked.
I am already shocked.
I like to look at them like throughout the year, and I'm like, what are our craziest requests we got? And I just log them.
Nice. Yeah. Well, you should. There would be a really good like Instagram reel or TikTok.
I know I should do that.
Yeah, that coming.
We can't do TikTok for government, but
nice. Whole nother subject.
I know
is worth a whole conversation, but we'll just let that lie. So I also heard you shared with me that there was a interesting. A band member was, kind of having a little extracurricular activity of cooking his own food while on stage.
I had a band member show up, and he was the lead singer. And
that makes it even better.
I don't know how to cook crab legs. Don't know how to cook. But he brought his whole pressure cooker and put it to the side of the stage, literally the side of the stage. And in between like every 3 or 4 songs, he would come back and check on his crab legs and then go back onto set. And I'm like, do you need me to watch your crab legs while you're singing? Is this thing going to explode or something? All of his band members didn't even bat an eye. Like they were like, oh, this is totally normal. And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, if that's what you want to have when you're done singing, but
I'm not forgetting the lyrics, but I'm also not forgetting the lyrics.
I thought that maybe he was like checking, like putting on a new jacket or a new shirt. Supposed to sing next? He's checking his crab legs.
Interesting. You've dealt with a band that did not talk to each other?
I had a band that was so mad at each other. I don't know what happened the night before, but none of them were talking to each other.
Not like 3 versus 2.
No.
Like
the whole band.
One. Everyone's on their own island.
Everyone was sitting in their own cars, and it was like 6:50. The band goes on at 7. They sound checked fine, and so I didn't think twice about it. And then I went up to one of the band members, like, "Hey, I just want to make sure you guys are good to go at 7 o'clock. That's when we start the MCs." And they're like, oh yeah, but you're gonna have to go check with so-and-so and make sure they're good, and so-and-so and that they're good. And so I'm like, do you guys like not have a group text message or something to say, hey, we hit the stage in 10 minutes? No. And so I literally had it, but you would never know their performance.
Oh,
They
sure.
were laughing, giggling. And then after the show,
Nothing.
back to not talking to each other. It
So,
was,
you know, you wonder why bands break up sometimes. Because it's like, man, you guys have just been number one hits.
you're like, what do you mean? You guys
yes.
are best friends.
Yeah. Oh, not
You guys
best
post
friends.
a picture together on Instagram. You're
Yes.
best friends, you know? No, it was
the
it is-
reality of, you know, the social media. It's not
Oh my
real.
goodness. Yes, it's so real.
What are some challenges that you had with it being outside, right?
Outside.
Because, you know, I've been to some, my wife, oh man, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, but like she
I won't tell
always
her.
plans for weather the day before,
Yeah.
or like of the weather that happened yesterday. Like, so if yesterday was 84 degrees, like she'll show up today's events planning for 84 degrees, not knowing, hey, it's Tennessee. Today
It
it's
could.
actually raining. Yesterday was sunny and 84, but today it's
Actually,
a
it's gonna
monsoon.
snow.
Yeah, yes. And that's what happened too. It's like we've gone to something before and it's like freezing cold. Well, then the next year we'll go like, well, it was cold last year.
So I'm gonna
it's
wear
gonna
my
be cold this year.
scarf.
Yeah, I've got scarves, jackets, whatever, you know, like
80
it's a
degrees.
whole different year. So outside planning events, I would imagine you're dealing with weather, you're dealing with like extreme temperatures,
Yes.
probably sometimes, and probably finicky band members.
Yeah, so being an event planner is great.
Yeah.
Being an event planner for an outdoor venue is completely it's completely different. I never really checked the weather growing up, and now I literally have to
The meteorologist.
Yes, I know everything. Like, do you want to know what the weather's gonna be like tomorrow? It's gonna be 80. I have to check everything, and weather is such a big part. We work with the National Weather Service directly out of Nashville.
Okay.
And so they are phenomenal. They'll call me and be like, hey, there's lightning touchdown 11 miles away. You have 23 minutes to get all your stuff up. And so they are extremely precise. So I try not to worry about it too much, but weather is such a big part of Downtown Commons, and you just never know.
Do you remember an event that you were really looking forward to that, I mean, obviously you said Haven Madison had to change. We were lucky that we could still
So
pull that
lucky.
one off. Was there one that we couldn't pull off with an adjusted date or anything?
There's a lot. We had a couple of national acts like Priscilla Block. That was huge. And we had to cancel due to weather. We had a comedy night scheduled for this year, which I was so excited to try a comedy night at Downtown Commons.
Yeah.
I've never done it before. Weather got us. And so the weather is really a bummer because you work with these agents and they can't just reschedule for the next day.
Correct.
And so the weather always plays such a big role into anything that we do.
Yeah. I know we've talked a lot about Downtown Commons, but you're also planning events all over, right?
I am.
So tell us a little bit about some of the other county-owned parks, facilities, and what are some of the things that you're doing?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. So they think that there is just one Parks and Recreation. City Parks and Recreation is the only thing that exists. But a lot of people don't know there's Montgomery County Parks and Recreation and Clarksville Parks and Recreation. Completely different parks too. So we get calls all the time about, hey, what you're doing out by the river? And we're like, we're sorry, that's city. But then they get calls all the time, hey, Downtown Commons, and they're like, that's county. And
county.
so we're trying to do a better job about educating all the residents about the differences in the parks. But yes, it is a big thing. So I do Fall Festival at Rotary Park, which is huge. We had it a couple weekends ago. We had 4,000 people at Rotary Park. And so
Like up at the top?
Up at the top.
Yeah.
It was really hard to funnel 4,000 people into that space.
Yeah, 2-lane road,
Yeah,
multiple
we had to
hills or
work
whatever.
with CMTSS school buses and alternate parking locations, stuff that I never have to worry about at Downtown Commons.
Yes.
I now had to figure out, how do you get people into Rotary Park?
Yeah, so that is interesting because up there's a few hundred spots.
Just like 250, I think.
There's a few spots down at the bottom of the bank where the creek is, and then there's some maybe up by the bike trail.
Exactly.
Where was everyone else parking? And how did you, at what point during the event did you realize we're going to need more help? Or did you already have it planned before then?
Yeah, so the first year that we did Fall Festival was last year.
Okay, gotcha.
And Katie, the programming supervisor, and I, we just planned it, and we were like, ignorance is bliss. We've never done it before. And so we're like, this is going to be so much fun. We have pumpkin painting and trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
We did not realize that 4,000 people were interested on Facebook until like 2 weeks before we checked it. And we're like, oh no. We backed up
This
the
is not what we
bypass, like past
Yes.
scooters like that.
Yeah.
Yes. Scooters and Natalie's Dance Network, all the way to Walmart, all the way past Gas and Water. We created the biggest cluster on the bypass. Everybody hated us, but it was so much fun.
All
but
in
we
the
were
name
like,
of fun.
yeah, it was just thrilling. And so this year we went into the mindset of trying to get people to park at an alternate parking location and busing them in.
Okay.
And so that was a whole nother aspect that I've never had to really plan out, but yeah, so we do Fall Festival at Rotary Park, and then we do movies at other parks as well. We're trying to really be purposeful with our events and making sure that we're serving the whole county. Downtown Commons is great, and we do a lot of programming at the Nature Center at Rotary, but we also want to make sure we're going to Rich Ellen and to Woodlawn, and we have Weekly Park, and so we're going to be a lot more purposeful this year about reaching the whole county.
Yeah. Is this something where you would say you welcome input from people in the community?
Love.
Yeah.
Please. Yes, I have an employee, Jessica. She's our event planning specialist. Me and her, we do the best we can. We're only a team of 2. A lot of people don't realize that. They think that we're this huge team. Yeah. It's Jessica and I that are literally working every weekend from May until October. And so if you're like, why can't you do more? And I'm like, we need to see our families at some point in time. And we need, we try to do every Friday and Saturday, May to October, try to really get that busy season. But also we're a team of 2. And so I hope that everybody feels like what we do is really great for a team of 2.
I mean, whatever the resources that you have, those are being used and strained to get every little available thing. Yes.
Totally. We pull guys in from like our landscaping division to help us with concerts, and they're like, what goes on here? And so it's kind of exciting for other divisions to see what we do. Yeah. But then also, we have landscaping guys out there that are trying to help us. We have athletic ball field guys that are trying to help us. Yeah. It's truly a joint effort to do what we do.
Yeah. Have you ever found yourself on a lawnmower owned by the county?
Not a lawnmower, but they want to teach me how to drive the tractor this winter. And I'm like, you don't want me on a tractor. I'm sorry. Listen, I'm sorry, but there's
another great Instagram
there's no way.
Reel right there.
We actually are going to hang Christmas lights in a couple of weeks, and I'm getting lift certified. So I catch me on a lift in downtown Clarksville in a couple of weeks.
Please don't fall.
Yeah, prayers.
Yeah. All right. So with anything that is exciting, you're doing new things, you're carrying on traditions. There's also like negative feedback that comes along, right? Why didn't they think of this? Why didn't they do this? The reality is most of us, myself included, have no idea all of the things that you're considering to pull something off. And we complain about things that can't even happen. Yeah. Like, why didn't they X, Y, Z? Well, we can't do that because it's against state law or whatever it may be. Like the county zoning ordinances won't let us have a petting zoo in this wherever. Yeah, it is what it is. So like, tell us a little bit about like, because what I really like about you is you're a public servant at heart. You're really passionate about what you do. You put your whole self into it. And then what is it like when you feel like some of the feedback that you get is either misinformed or is just maybe disingenuous, because in reality, you really are doing your best. You're not I'm just a salaried employee of the county sitting back here, just checking boxes off. Home. Exactly. Right. Yeah. So what would you say to maybe people who thankfully care enough about the community to have an opinion on Parks and Rec and what they do, but what are some constructive ways that they could share feedback or support you in terms of what you do as you realize you're learning things? Because the Fall Festival is a great idea, right? Yeah. It just might not have been 4,000 people idea the very first time. Totally. We just didn't expect it, but now we learn from it. Year 2 is better.
Yes. I take criticism. I don't love it in a form of comments on social media. Sure. I think social media is such a great thing. It's also such a negative thing. A lot of people don't realize that the person that's posting behind Downtown Commons is me. And so they're like, oh, I'm just going to send this to the marketing girl. It's me. It's me.
2-person department, 1-person social media. Yeah.
I run Jessica does all the graphics. I run all the social media. Like, we truly are 2 people. Yeah. And so if I love when people are like, hey, if you could have more porta potties, I would totally appreciate that. Love that. But when people comment, hey, this sucked, do better. And I'm like, I'm thinking about that at 2 a.m. Like, I'm laying there like, why did I book this band? Even though 95% of the people are like, this was so much fun. Yeah. thank you for doing this. Thank you for spending your Friday nights taking care of Clarksville. But constructive criticism, I welcome it. And our department line is always open. I am always at Downtown Commons. That is like my second home. You can always Facebook message us, Instagram message us, email me. There's so many ways to get a hold of us. I just, when people want to vent on social media, just kind of, it's me behind that. And so I really do think about it a lot. I'm trying to get better at being a people pleaser. But I'm just a people pleaser at heart.
We all struggle with it to some degree when you put your whole self into something.
Yeah.
I'm a pediatric dentist. It's a hard industry to navigate kids through something that's not exactly the most thrilling thing in the world. And
You're
then
talking
have
about
parents,
my daughter loved getting her teeth cleaned.
I'm right, because no kid ever cries. But it's like parents' expectations can maybe be different or challenging, and we try to communicate that on the front end. But then out of 10,000, there's 3 that are just maybe not as happy as how the appointment went or how it could have gone, and you hold on to them.
You hold on to them, and
you try so hard.
Our
and you bring your
director
whole self to
Sally, she tries so hard. She's like, Elizabeth, I promise you, 97% of people love what you're doing. You just have to get over that. Like everybody loves you.
I'm glad you go to her and not Kyle, because Kyle's probably like, what?
Literally,
just
don't
even tell me about that.
I will complain to Kyle. I'm like, Kyle, did you see the Clarksville Now comment? And he's like, why are you looking at Clarksville Now comments? And I'm like, because it says
I care.
I know. I'm so bad at it. And so it's great. Also, my husband is just so nonchalant. And so he's just like, whatever.
Yes.
And after, remember, I do free events. And so you can't please everybody. People aren't paying to come to my stuff. Yeah. So there's no need for the rude comments about what movie I chose or what tribute band I brought. I'm bringing 12. So pick one that you like of the 12 and come. I'm not making
make the best out of it. Right?
Come to all of my stuff.
Well, I think that would be our one big message for this episode, is that for every county park program, event, there's some real person who lives and works and plays, and their kids go to school here, and they're a real person doing their very best. To make Montgomery County better.
Yes, I am. I love working for Parks and Rec because I get to bring my daughter to our playgrounds, and you'll hear people be like, this is the best playground. And it's like, it's so great to work and play in the same place and to feel like you are valued, even if it's small talk at the playground when all these moms, that still means something to everybody.
Absolutely.
And so I'm like, oh yeah, we'll fix that slide. Don't worry about, little stuff like that.
Well, you've got a lot to be proud of, and you should be proud of it.
Thank you.
Y'all are doing great. Well, let's talk about some of the stuff. We got a few minutes left. We got some exciting stuff. So we're in November 2023 right now as we're recording this, but for the end of the year 2023, we've got some cool stuff coming up. Yep. So tell us a little bit about the tradition of all traditions, the Christmas parade.
My favorite event ever.
Are you serious?
It really is. It's
like Buddy the Elf.
It's one of my, I know, I'm like, it's time. And Mariah Carey, that's me. I love the Christmas parade. Yep. It's the one event that we get to work with Clarksville Parks and Recreation on with Maggie and her team. They're so talented. Shout out Maggie. Shout out Mags. I love you. And it's so great. Everybody is truly holly jolly. Yeah. Holly jolly. Everybody is so happy. And it's so exciting to see all these businesses getting together. A lot of these competing businesses getting together. Man, your float doesn't have enough.
Yes.
Like that type of stuff truly warms your heart.
And I think what's really cool is it's really all industries and sectors of our community. Because you got the concrete truck. You got the law firm. You have a certain individual who shall remain nameless who carries a megaphone every year.
Year. And it's truly so much fun. I feel like I grew up going to the Christmas parade.
Sure did.
And it's so awesome getting to now run the Christmas parade and being like, we're getting to do these memories with our family. So
December the 2nd.
December 2nd at 5 o'clock, be there or be squared. I'm just kidding.
It's also hilarious sometimes because sometimes you'll go out there in like a t-shirt on December the 2nd, and the next year you're like, freezing. I need an Alaskan
I need like those little like hand
you need
warmers.
Hand warmers, hot hands, whatever it is. Like it can be frigid.
And so December 2nd, 5 o'clock. Our other event, we're having live ice sculpting and movie night. So our department chose the Santa Claus with Tim Allen. The classic. And so that is December 21st at 6 o'clock.
And where's that one?
Downtown Commons.
Okay, nice.
And we have a live ice sculptor. He's going to be sculpting like a 6 to 7 foot tall Santa Claus. And
Nice.
so that is so exciting.
Yeah.
I can't even draw like a symmetrical circle. And these people like ice carve a literal Santa Claus.
Yeah.
I just can't. We're so lucky to have such talented people
Yeah.
in Clarksville.
So that could be fun. Are you
So
bringing
much
in,
fun.
are you planning for like exterior heaters, or is just,
Oh yeah, we're gonna do some patio heaters.
Okay,
You know,
cool.
it's cold.
Yeah, it could be.
I'm not gonna discount that. It is
Yeah.
cold
Yeah.
that night.
Yeah.
But it's great for the ice. You know.
yeah, hey, come on,
You
look
know,
at that. We're going to make this
Gotta
positive.
even it out.
All right. And then the granddaddy, the first time this one's happening.
First ever New Year's Eve party.
Who pitched this idea first?
Mayor Golden.
Oh, shout out. Wes
Shout
Golden.
out Mayor Golden. Yes, he came to us in January.
This was probably Mia's idea, for the record.
I
And
think it
then
is Mia's.
He brought it.
And I hope that Mia is there at the countdown.
There's no doubt.
She better be.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get her and take her. That was really his mission when he started. He was just like, we are way too big of a city to not have our own New Year's Eve party.
Okay.
Everybody leaves and goes to Nashville, or people are sit at home and they're like, there's nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we're bringing it. We're bringing it
Okay.
here. It is so exciting. We have so much to do. We have a clear tent that's going to take up like half of the downtown commons.
Oh, that's
So
huge.
you can like see the stars
Yeah.
up above. We have like string lights that are going to be in a clear tent.
Okay.
We have a black and white checkered dance floor for you to dance all night. We'll have couches. We're going to have, we have a 10-piece band out of Nashville.
Oh, wow.
They're like one of the best wedding bands you can get in Nashville. I booked them in like February. And so we have
cool.
a surprise drop at midnight.
Okay.
We have a new Christmas tree this year at Downtown Commons, and this Christmas tree is really cool that you'll find out at New Year's Eve. We'll have outdoor seating. We really want people to come and spend time with us on New Year's Eve. There's also a lot of downtown businesses that will be open.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you reach out to them saying, hey, we're going to do something.
Please
Plan your
be
calendars.
open.
Please be
Yes.
open. Yeah.
They are, I believe, Strawberry Alley, I believe Black Horse, Mailroom. There's probably more. I can't think off the top of my head. They're all interested and
Yeah.
excited, and they're going to open their doors too. So you don't have to freeze at Downtown Commons, but we are thinking of ways we're going to heat the tent.
Yeah.
So you won't be freezing. I don't know, maybe 80 degrees or maybe flurries. I don't know. So we are fully prepared for
Come in a
all
tank top.
weather,
Yeah.
but it's really exciting to have a free event for Clarksville
Yeah.
to enjoy
Very cool.
and spend like their time here in downtown.
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth, it's really exciting. Just someone who grew up here. We went to the same schools.
Yes.
To see you now really like walking in something that I can tell you're really passionate about. People who are watching YouTube or might have seen some social media clips, they can see it on your face, but I really think people can probably hear it in your voice too as they're listening. So thank you so much for choosing to call Clarksville home and saving yourself a little rent money, of course, but
Yeah, just a little.
bringing your gifts back home and making our community better in so many ways and taking on this big responsibility and burden and blessing sometimes of bringing free gifts, events to our community of different ways. But I know that all 220 or 50,000 of us, however many we have
I
now.
think it's like to 225.
Yeah. Well, you're making a difference in all of our
thank
lives, for
you.
real. I really mean that. And thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you. I try to do everything that we possibly can.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, thanks so much. Well, hey, if you have made it to the end of this episode, thanks so much. I know that you've been blessed by Elizabeth's story here and how she grew up here. She's got really deep family connections here and chose to call Clarksville home to bring us amazing events working with County Parks and Rec. I know that you have enjoyed amazing events from Downtown Commons. If you're one of the first people to just hear about Clarksville because you're moving here with PCS or something like that, and you just heard about this, mark Downtown Commons on your things to do list. Go and look at the calendar, see what's there, check out multiple events throughout the year. You're going to be really blessed. You're going to have a lot of fun, and you're going to realize that Clarksville is indeed the best place to live in America. Go back, watch some other episodes, catch them. You'll hear great people like Elizabeth bringing positive, encouraging stories from all across our community and telling you why Clarksville really is awesome. I'm your host, Kevin Kennedy Jr. Thanks so much for checking this out. We'll see you on the next episode.